right, let's talk about it. How did I get this physique, right? Some people think I literally just woke up and looked like this one day. I was the skinniest kid in my class forever. I started working out in middle school, and I just posted my transformation online, and people were like, what? You were skinny? Yeah, I was skinny, and that was me 2 years into working out. I was doing weighted pull-ups in my room in the video, and at that point, I was working out for 2 years consistent, and I was still a twig. Like, growing up, people were like, you're super athletic, you're really strong for your size, and like, I thought I was big, but small at the same time. I'm like, man, I'm so muscular, but I wasn't even 100 pounds. Like, I was super tiny, and I would just do sit-ups in my room for literally hours. I'll tell you how I started working out. First time I was consistent with working out, I was 8 years old. I actually had a six-pack whenever I was 8. And I didn't have it before I was working out. It was just a flatter stomach. We were watching Wipeout, my sister and my dad. Wipeout's that show with the red balls where they're going across trying to get to the end to win a prize or whatever, and there's different courses. But you know, they'd have some weird people on there sometimes. You got to make the show interesting. One of these guys, he would take his skin, and he was skinny, but he'd stretch it all the way down, and he just looked weird. My sister was like, Will, you look like that. And my dad was like, yeah. At the time, I thought they were being serious. So what did I do naturally? I got into my room, and I started drilling sit-ups that night. I think I did maybe 60, 100. I don't remember. But I was dedicated. Then within a short period of time, I'd put on 2 songs in a row, and I would do sit-ups and twisting sit-ups the whole entire time. And I would pick longer and longer songs. Like, it might have started off with We Will Rock You because I liked Queen at the time. And then later it went to Bohemian Rhapsody, which is like a 6-minute song or something like that. And so the songs got longer and longer. That's how I would increase the time I was doing it. And I didn't know anything about training. Sometimes I would do these every day. And I'd be like, yo, Dad, look at this. I'm doing it every day. And he's like, you shouldn't be doing that. You should take rest days. I was like, oh, okay. My dad's jacked, by the way. So I was like, okay, he's got to be right. I'm like 8. He has to know better than me. So that's what I started doing. Like, every other day I'd do these sit-ups. Just crazy amount of reps. 2 months later, and like during this time, people start saying like, oh, that's the kid with abs. That's the kid with abs. Like, I was like, oh, this is cool. And then I showed my sister. I was like, boom. And then she was like, oh, Will, like, I was just joking the whole time. She was like kind of trying to take away my whole motivation, I think, by doing that. But like, she was like, my sister's super cool now. Like, we were 8 and 10 at this time. We were just beefing for no reason because that's what siblings do. My sister's actually super cool. Like, that's just how kids are growing up. But yeah, so I was like, oh, that was just a joke the whole time. I stopped doing sit-ups. When I started again, 11 years old. And during this time, I always grew up playing sports, worked really hard in practice, all that. You know, worked really hard in school. It was just something I just did. I had actually had a great work ethic for like a kid. It was crazy. So 11 years old, I'm in the back seat of my dad's car. He reaches back, pokes my stomach. And you know, when you sit forward, your skin folds a little bit, right? So my skin folded over his finger. And he's like, yo, like, your skin's doing that? I was like, yeah, everybody's does that when they lean forward. He's like, mine didn't when I was your age. And my dad had a 6-pack at that time still too. So I was like, okay. And the crazy thing is, he was still jacked and hadn't worked out for 10 years at that point. Crazy. But obviously not as jacked as before, but still like jacked. And I was like, dang, well, shoot, like, that made me feel bad. You know, I was like, dang, well, I guess that's a problem. And I would just kind of sit around, and like, when I'd sit forward, I was like, oh, you know, I was a little insecure about it. And I didn't like that feeling. And then one day I was going to meet my friends, 2 of my friends on the block that I grew up on. There's these super tall bushes here, and they're standing behind the bushes. And my friend on that block has a brother named Will. And I didn't know if they're talking about the brother or me, but my dad just did this like 2 weeks ago at this time, something like that. And they're like, man, Will's starting to get fat. And my friend's brother, Will, was starting to get fat. And I was like, honestly, logically, I think they're talking about them. But since I just went through this in the car, my emotions don't care what my logic is saying right now. They're talking about me emotionally. That's what emotions are saying. So I talked to my sister. My sister, we aren't really beefing at this point anymore. Like, we were kind of outside of that childhood beef a little bit, but not too much. And I was like, Sydney, let's work out together. She's like, okay. So she does 60 sit-ups, and I do 62 or 63. I had to beat her. The next time I did 100, I was like super excited to tell her, I'm like, yo, I did 100. She's like, you're not going to keep being able to progress at that pace. And that pissed me off. So I went to like 200 the next time. Then I was doing 500. And then I would put these timers for like 60 seconds. And I would do like 160 seconds. And then I would put on 5 minutes. And I would try to do 300, 400, 500 of sit-ups and then twisting. A certain amount had to be twisting. And my elbow had to go here. And I had this cabinet in my room. And there's only this much space. So I'd jam my toes underneath and lift it up and try to get cloth and socks in between it. But it would still cut through the top of my feet. But I didn't care because I was like, I need to get better. I need to get better. And I was always one of the faster ones on my team. Like once I learned how to actually run, like when I was a kid, I used to skip. I didn't know when I was like 5 or 6, but once I learned how to run, I was like one of the faster ones. And then I was second fastest on my team before I started doing the abs. So my core got stronger, my hip flexors got stronger from having them pull my body up on there, which I didn't know that's what I was doing at the time with my hip flexors. But I went from second fastest to fastest on the team there. And then I remember being in middle school and I had abs. I could do a backflip. When my soccer jersey got wet, you could see my abs through it. And I was like, I'm that boy. I'm that boy. And you know, it's just like, I went to this new private school. And like when I walked in, it was like I was the new kid, but I had that sauce and everything like that. And like, I felt like Justin Bieber there, basically. Like, I felt famous. It was super cool. But I was like, man, that was the first time I saw fitness change my life. So then I was like, man, I want to beat the pull-up record. So when I was in school, like a week before, I would train my body to do more pull-ups. I just get that pull-up bar, do a few more. So I go from doing 5, 6, 7 pull-ups, like 10 to 12 by doing that for that like week or two of training. And then, you know, I started doing that in middle school, doing some pull-ups. By 6th, 7th grade, I started doing my pull-ups consistently with the abs, doing push-ups now too. 8th grade, I started getting a dip rack. And I would watch these NFL player workouts like Herschel Walker. He'd do like 1,000 push-ups in a day, and then 3,000, and then 5,000 sit-ups or whatever. And he'd do that every single day. And I'm like, man, I see how he looks. And at the time, there was like this myth when you were younger, you can't lift weights or it stunts your growth. And I didn't want to stunt my growth. I was already short for my age, right? And I was just small. So I'm like doing these push-ups. And if you guys know anything about working out, you have to lift in that 5 to 30 rep range close to failure, which I was doing pretty much anything but that. So I was like packing on no muscle. I had like a decent amount of strength endurance and stuff. Like I could do like 100 push-ups straight with good form when I was in middle school, but I was like tiny. So yeah, I remember like I could bench. I'd never benched before, but I was like 90 pounds or something like that, and I had 65, and I did like 20 something reps, and I could like do 95 for 1. So my strength endurance was pretty good. I was like benching my body weight, but if I was like benching back then, it would have went higher and higher and higher. I just didn't have weights at my place. I probably would have started lifting. I would have been like, I don't care, I'm so dedicated, I'm doing it anyway. And doing body weight training, that is a form of weight resistance. So but when you're 12, you don't think of that kind of stuff. And little doctors didn't think of that stuff back then, which is crazy. Like they should be able to understand that. But back to the point, I get to 8th grade. You know, I have a little tiny bit of muscle. Like tiny, I'm not even 100 pounds still. I'm like 5'4", 90 something pounds. And then like, I didn't even have to weight cut when I wrestled in middle school. Like it was just tiny, right? And then, you know, high school comes around. I want to start playing football. I'm doing these football workouts that I see like Ray Lewis going through the deck of cards. I couldn't go through it how he did. That's crazy. I don't know if he was even doing that when he was younger. That's literally insane. Because like a joker would be 50 push-ups. Like you pull out a deck, you're doing 5, 7, 3, whatever the number is there. King, queen, whatever was like 10 or something. So, you know, knock out 10 or just, I don't forget the exact numbers in jokers. 50. There's just no way he was doing that like all the way through, because that's basically like 500 consecutive push-ups. So I just don't think, I don't know. But also he's Ray Lewis, so he might have been doing it. Who knows? But yeah, I was like getting tendonitis from these workouts because I was trying to do them every day, like Herschel Walker too. And then yeah, football starts. I'd never played it before, and I was like, man, I'm literally so tiny. And I thought I should have been on varsity my freshman year. I was 100 pounds. Like I was fast, I would break through and all this. I was really strong for my body weight, and like I was good against kids my age. But yeah, I was like, thought I should be in varsity. But I started lifting weights there when I started my freshman year of high school, and my parents split up. I was all depressed. I isolated myself. And then I got into high school, and I remember in 8th grade, I told my friends this. I was like, I had this vision of me just being jacked, because I was like, they said 15 is when you can start lifting weights. So I just took that for word, you know. Not my friends, but like that was kind of like the memo scientifically at the time or whatever. And then, so I started lifting weights, And every time I went in the gym, I'd see my bench go up 5 pounds, another 5, another rep. I fell in love with that more than any sport. And when my parents divorced, I like really isolated myself because I was depressed and I didn't know how to deal with it. And I was like, man, I don't want bad influences. So I like isolated myself from all my friends, and all I would do is just lift and watch YouTube videos on lifting. And growing up, I was super social, a lot of friends, always playing sports. After freshman year, I stopped playing sports and just dedicated my whole entire life to lifting. Didn't take a sip of alcohol, didn't go to a single party. And looking back, I just wish I socialized more. I don't wish I took drinks of alcohol, but I was so locked in. And even though there's some things like, man, I wish I could take back, because I feel like socially I stunted my growth by doing that, and it like went into reverse. But I developed so much physically at that time. I just wish I knew different. I thought at that time that was the best advice, was to talk to nobody and completely lock in on a goal, which it got me far for the development of my body, but I was just lacking in other areas of my life. You don't have to do that. You can get in shape and talk to people. You can even drink some alcohol and get in great shape. But if you want to be in the best shape possible, you don't do that. I think that was super sick that I did that. And looking back on it, I love my dedication, because it just showed to myself I was willing to do absolutely anything. I could literally not even hang out with friends anymore, which wasn't necessary. But that's just what I was willing to do. I said, if there's anything that hinders growth, I will stop it. And you can see what I look like at 16. Like, it's insane how much progress I made. We don't have all the information now on how to train back then, so it was just me studying and continuous trial and error. My first 3 months in the gym, I had a chest and back split, and I wasn't doing legs because my knees were cooked from football practice wearing cleats, and we were on this dirt field that was as hard as a rock. So I thought I had knee problems, but it was, well, I did, but it's from that freaking field with the cleats. So for the first 3 months, I didn't do legs. It was just chest, rest, back, rest, or something like that. It was a chest and back split. I didn't train arms, because at the time I thought training arms was not functional. Same with shoulders, which that is such a myth. There's no such thing as getting a stronger body part and not having it be functional, because you do this in real life and you do this in real life. Like, what? But yeah, literal drop sets for like 1, 2, 3 hours straight for my chest and then for my back, and that's all I would do. And I gained muscle because I was just so new to lifting, but I would watch CT Fletcher's, like these prison workouts, and all I knew was just going hard. So that's what I did. I just went hard. There was no strategy. And with time, I'd study more. And my goal wasn't even to pack on muscles, to be the strongest I could be, which the science later shows that's the best way to pack on muscles. So I, by accident, later on in high school, started training optimally, and I got within like 5-10 pounds of the world record for my bench for my age and weight. Pause too and everything. I missed my weight cut at the competition, but literally I was strong enough to do it. Like, I did 230 paused in the gym, weighed like 125 or something like that, and I was like 127 when I weighed in, and they didn't count my bench because I paused it, went up, and I racked it, and they didn't say rack yet. But yeah, I actually could have had the record there too, but it's not really that big of a deal. Nobody walks around and is like, you had the 15-year-old 125-pound bench press record? That's so crazy. I remember that kid's name too. He's like a redhead. I used to watch him all the time and be like, I gotta be what he's doing. Like, I would pick these certain people and just like make them like my nemesis, which like I didn't hate him, but it was like, I have to beat this guy. Like, it was one of my best friends is Caleb, but he was a senior, I was a freshman. I was like, I have to beat him in the gym. And I ended up crushing all of his lifts, except deadlift. I think I matched him on that, but everything else, like, I blew it out of the water because he had like the records and stuff, and he was in the best shape whenever I got into high school. So he was like, I was in my head always like, I have to beat him. But I love Caleb, but I don't think he even knows that. That's so funny. But yeah, I was like, I have to beat him. I just picked him as like that guy that I had to beat. And but yeah, no, high school I just locked in on lifting, and then, you know, got into the real world, whatever, you know, fit my workouts in, doing sales jobs, whatever. But yeah, fitness has always been a massive part of my life, and I don't think I could live life without it. I haven't not been consistent since I was 11 years old. If you guys don't know, I'm 24 and a half now. Did he just say his half year? What is he, 7? Yeah, I said my half year. Like, I tell myself I'm 25, so it holds myself to a higher standard, but I'm still 24 and a half technically. But yeah, guys, that's some more of my story. Here's Zeus. He has a great diet too. He eats potatoes and rice and chicken and turnips and water, and he doesn't eat processed food, so that's why he's getting older, but he's still healthy and has so much energy and is cute and handsome like his owner. He actually has a better diet than me, I'm not even lying. Zeus. Okay, this is adorable. You're adorable, Zeus. But yeah, I'm probably going to end this video here soon. Okay, I hope you guys enjoyed. Thanks for tuning in. Mwah!